At McLaren, we measure absolutely everything, all the time, real time, from drivers down to cars, down to the team that works on racing. So all of us are basically part of a program to get the optimum human performance. And we're trying to apply that now to sports, starting at the elite level, call that the Olympic squads. We're working with 5 Olympic teams in the UK only, trying to get the best out of their performance. And it's a question of measuring how the body's set up, how the body performs, and how that performs in competition, be that on a bike, in a boat, in a canoe. One example where it's been applied very successfully and quite innovatively is with Team GB cycling. We took the race telemetry that we used to monitor the condition of a car and applied it to the bike. So Chris Hoy, Victoria Pendleton, they now race with McLaren telemetry. That's the first time ever in a race that only lasts seconds, we get all of that insight, all of that data that we can use to actually predict the best and optimum performance in the next race.
So I can see why Olympic cyclists will come to you
Yes.
to try and understand how they can be more efficient and the training regime. Presumably it's not just on the track, it's what they eat, it's what time they train.
It's all of that. I mean, most of our work is at the elite level. So at the elite level, difference between winning and losing is maybe 2% in performance improvement. So we're always talking about aggregation of marginal gains, if I can borrow an expression from the cycling team. That's how Chris Boardman wins. Tiny improvements, but continuously aggregated, is what keeps them at the front.
So I can see logically there's an obvious extension to other sports, but how does it make Heathrow Airport more efficient?
When it's deployed, we'll all see and experience the improvement. But basically what you do, you gather all the patterns of behaviour and traffic in the airport, and although you can't intuit it, there are some repeat patterns that tend to occur. And so you can actually guide the operator to anticipate when the busy time will be and which taxiway will get busy. And this is just how we do things in racing. We model all the future scenarios before they happen.
So what's the ultimate dream? Does that mean we'll know exactly what time we have to leave the office without sitting on the taxiway? And
well, the ultimate dream for logistics should be, why should you stand in a great long queue at immigration? They knew 300 of you were going to arrive. What they don't know today is what time you're going to arrive with any precision, which is why we all wait for the ground crew. Then when the ground crews show up, they'll tell the immigration that there's a batch of 300 coming. It's done that sequentially. But there's no reason, actually, technically, why it couldn't be joined up. So you could actually predict the load on the immigration based on the predicted arrival time of the plane.
so next time all of you are showing your passport at the airport and you've been waiting 25 minutes, I want you to drop Geoff's card onto that desk. One of the other things you do brilliantly is the simulation. You know, you have the software that can imagine what happens if these inputs change. I mean, how could something like this be used in other spheres, medical, for instance?
A lot of people know in the motorsports world, McLaren's known for having the best simulator. Now, what most teams use a simulator for is to get the drivers familiar with the track. We had a completely different concept. We built it as a design tool. So it's basically a modeled environment in which we can build components, then test them in a model car, but novelly with a real driver sitting there. So in layman's language, we might change something on the suspension, then ask the driver, how does that feel? He's actually driving a simulator, not the real car. So we set the car up that way before a race. So you take that approach. If you're going in for an operation, would you like the surgeon to practice on you, or would you like him to go and practice in a simulated environment on a model of you and optimize the procedure? So I see smiles in the audience. That's our next project.